70 years, MDA has led the way in accelerating research, advancing care, and advocating for the support of our families. MDA's mission is to empower people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and related neuromuscular diseases to live longer, more independent lives. Our mission comes to life through the 4 pillars of care. Through our national network of MDA care centers across the U.S., we support individuals and families from day one of their journey. Champion, through our advocacy and education efforts, we empower families with information and resources. Catalyst, through our investments in research, we are furthering advancements in treatment discoveries. And community, through programs like Summer Camp, our Connections program, and our community events, we are helping individuals and families build supportive connections and relationships. If you haven't done so already, we invite you to join the MDA community by registering with us. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest, Lorraine Woodward, CEO and founder of Becoming rentABLE. As the front person for Becoming rentABLE, Lorraine guides the entire team with creative ideas that will positively impact the lives of people with disabilities and their families. Lorraine maintains a hectic and busy schedule as a wife, mother, volunteer, artist, accessible rental property host, and ultimate Duke basketball fan, which I'm a Kentucky Wildcats fan. So Lorraine, we might have to talk after this.
Okay.
She finds joy by hanging out with her family, thrifting with her friends, staying at her beach house, listening to music. And this might be the best thing I've ever heard, being an unofficial ice cream connoisseur. So then we can top it off with a good discussion about ice cream. So we are thrilled to have you here today, Lorraine. I'll now turn our time over to you all. And just so everybody knows, we're going to have to do a little technical magic to do some screen sharing. So hold tight. It might take a couple seconds, but we'll get everything started here in just a second.
Okay. How are we now?
Perfect.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Lorraine Woodward, and I'm thrilled to be here. You know, this is a near and dear subject for me personally. I have limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, so disability has been a way of life for me. I have been with the MDA in some form or fashion for 59 years. I was diagnosed at the age of 2. So yes, that makes me 61. I also have 2 boys with muscular dystrophy. So the information I share today comes from not only the personal perspective of creating an accessible property, but also a professional background. I had the pleasure and privilege to work with Ronald Mace in the 80s, who is known as the father of universal design. And so what I know comes from the expert. We have built 4 accessible properties, both personally and 2 short-term rentals. So my team gives me a lot of grief because they say that I get into the nuts and bolts and provide a lot of information. So I guess my success at the end will be making sure that everybody's head is spinning with lots of great information. So here we go. The information that I will share with you today is coming from examples from our little yellow house in Conway, Arkansas. We built this property. It's a 900 square foot little bungalow that we had gutted the inside of the house, and we made it as an educational module for our Becoming rentABLE website. And the purpose of this house was to look at accessibility in the areas of mobility, cognitive, vision, hearing, and our aging. I will focus specifically on mobility during today's webinar. So the very first thing that I look at when we're doing an accessible property is I start with the driveway. And again, it's one of those areas in accessible design that is kind of forgotten about, but it's like, wait a minute, we need to get to our house. And so this design or diagram shows you the importance of looking at your space from a width standpoint. So I have a wheelchair accessible van. So I know that I need a concrete pad for our driveway that is at least 18 feet long and 12 feet wide. So when I pull in, I have space to pull down my ramp. Now, next to that, you see an accessible place for a car. because some people with mobility needs may not be using a van, particularly those who use walkers. Slope of the driveway is very important. We look at a ratio of 1 foot and 5 inches ish per foot to give us the slope that is easy to for a wheelchair to access. And then we also consider the reason that we have the 18 feet in depth is for that rear entry van. And always we look at good lighting. So when, we come home late from shopping and a yummy dinner, that we can see our way into our property. And here's an example of the parking pad and driveway for our little yellow house. As you see to the left in this diagram, we made a what they call a California driveway. We did use 2 materials, concrete and brick. We advocate that when you're creating a driveway or looking at your accessible parking area is to consider where your vehicle is going to be parked. We're not, we do not advocate for grass, gravel, dirt, a hard surface driveway via brick, a paver, or concrete. And we know this will help drive in the cost of your accessible property. In looking at overall expenses and creating an accessible property, it's only about 10% of the total cost of creating an accessible property. And in the driving factors in the expenses, one of them is your hard surface driveway and how much concrete are you going to use or bricks you're going to use. I got these bricks from my mother's house. She had built a house and she had all these excess bricks. So I'm going, sold. So that's why we ended up with this long, expansive driveway. I kind of like the look that the house, the little yellow house, is a 1940s bungalow. And back in the day, this style of driveway was very popular. A lot of the times you saw more of a grass in the middle versus a solid surface. Knowing that I use a wheelchair and we were designing this property for people with mobility issues is why we wanted to make sure that the whole expansion did have that solid surface. So now we look at getting to the front door. And what we look for in an accessible property. First is that clear path to the front door and making sure that we have that access from getting out of the vehicle to going to the entrance of the door. Now, as you noticed and you might not have noticed that in the little yellow house, the front of the property had steps. And so when I start talking about the this accessible properties, hands are going up, but how is this accessible? There is, 4 steps to get into the property. Well, it doesn't always have to be the very front of a property. It could be your garage entrance. It could be in the back. And again, the focus is making sure that whatever that entrance is, that it is a clear path to the property. Second thing that we look at is, things like how wide of a door should you put at your front. Now, I'm a wide load. I use a Permobil M300. And so if I have a 32-inch door, you're going to know that I went through that 32-inch door. So I prefer a 36-inch door. The cost difference again there is less than 10% of having the 32 or a 36. We also look at where do you place your doorbell, and so it's 36 inches from the ground. For those of us in a wheelchair and, and in today's world, I want to know who's knocking on the front door. So having some type of glass panel is nice. So that I can check out and see who's there. It's not a necessity, but a lot of these things are personal preferences from me and my experience in using a wheelchair and have built multiple properties. Um, my kids really advocate that we have that front stoop that has is covered so that you don't get drenched when you're trying to find your keys to get to the front door. And so as you'll see here, we have you know, a ramped entrance that is made out of wood. You have a more concealed ramp from the side of the house. You have properties with no ramp. And so, but again, those are things to look at as you're getting into your property. All right. So here we go, our little yellow house. So here are the steps that we talked about. Again, we didn't have the width of land to wrap the ramp around the side of the house with the slope that we needed. And that's why we went to the backyard and made the back entrance our accessible property. And one of the goals in creating all of our properties has been making it look unique to the home. And so this little house, as my son says, it looks like a donut shop. You know, it's just a really cute little house. And so we added simple things to add to the charm of the property. I love paint, I love color, and we just used actually a kitchen cabinet stain on the front patio to add a scalloped element to mimic the scallops that we had in the overhang. Very inexpensive. Also just adding to fun. And again, we travel as a family. A lot of people with disabilities travel with family, or they may go and meet family. So we had this stain. So when in doubt, why not have a hopscotch? And so we put a little hopscotch on our front sidewalk to add just again another level of personality and fun. And yes, those are China flowers because why not? They're the perfect flower. They don't require water. They're weeds. I don't have to worry about weeds, and it was fun. And I have many more I need to go and plant at our little yellow house. Doors, you know, you think of doors, and doors are just like, okay, let's look at a 32-inch door, a 36-inch door. But the question comes about when you're looking at these doors, any door, what is the point of reference that you measure? And what we have found is that you measure from the inside point of where your wheelchair could hit, which is this interior piece, all the way to the handle. Again, I need to get through that handle with the door entrance. So you're going to measure the door jambs is what that little extension is called to the point of reference. And in this case, it's a lever handle. And that will guide you on how big of a space that you may need for your wheelchair. So is it that 32, that 36, that 34-inch door? When we're looking at doors, we look at the threshold, you know, that bump that you sometimes go through when you're going from the inside of the house maybe to your deck. And we look at trying to make sure all of our thresholds, interior as well as exterior, do not go over a ½ inch. And, you know, and that's important because in my wheelchair, if it's that 2-inch bump, I have to kind of go back a little bit and add some speed to get over that. And so if you have a shallow deck, it is hard sometimes to get over that bump if you don't have the wheelchair space to give it a good extra push to get over that threshold. And we treat doors, you know, differently too. So we have our traditional swing door here. We have a pocket door, and in our little yellow house, we do have a pocket door. And so again, we look at with the pocket door, we don't have that handle extra space that we look at for accessibility. And then on doors, and I'm finding out my son is closing on his first accessible condo the end of this month. And we talked about a keyless lock, and it's something that we use here because my hands don't allow me, I don't have the strength to use a knob, and it's so we use the lever handle, and then there's the key function. So it's easier for me to use a keyless lock. Well, Nathan's going to be in a condo, and so he's going to have guests come to his condo. And so he has a little remote on his phone that he can let them in. But if he's tired, he can not have to worry about getting to the door to enter his condo. He can use a keyless lock and say, here is my 4-digit code. And now they're into the property. So there's really, so many times we look at these keyless locks is only for exterior, but there really is benefit to having them and considering them for an interior space as well. So here we go with some different things that I look at when I'm looking at an accessible door. There are different threshold ramps that you can buy, and they're very affordable. They're less than $100. And again, it just allows our wheelchair easier access and to enter a property or go over that space to get to an exterior element. When we started adding these gliding doors, or what we call a barn door, one of the things that we found at our beach property is the component that holds the door in place back and forth would constantly break because they were plastic. So if you do a barn or gliding door, I highly recommend the metal component. It does not break. It's easy to help keep your door in the tracking system in one place. And again, in the little yellow house, you'll see the original doors, but we cut them in half and made them open right to left. And so we tried to be a little creative with our door there. And then again, the exterior, which is the front door in the back area, we just added some shutters with a little medallion because again, I was going for that extra charm. That is, and then you'll see the threshold in the bottom right example of changing from one surface to the next. And you can have different transitions when you have those different platforms to go from carpet, tile, hardwood, and they are commonly done in the beginning or when you're going to replace your surface there. Okay, so the interior features. I use this diagram just to, again, make reference to things that we overall look at in creating a accessible property. For those of you not in a wheelchair, I recommend a rolling office chair and to see how you can access and navigate your property in a rolling sitting position. This particular example doesn't show a hallway. And we look at, again, I'm carrying in my purse, or I have a bag that's on my armrest, and I'm going through the hall to get to the kitchen to make sure I have that extra width. We go with that wider 48 inches path to go through the to the kitchen. We also look at, again, things that we may not think of a light switch. Where do we place that? Your electrical outlets. We are not a big fan of carpet. Some people really like carpet. Nathan in his condo, he has carpet in his bedroom because he likes to wake up with carpet at his feet, where the rest of his condo will not be carpet. We look at our window sills, where are they placed, and window controls. And if you happen to have an elevator, which we do in one of our properties and in our private home, you want to make sure that the cart is minimally 36 by 48. In our elevator in our Raleigh, North Carolina family home, it's a smaller elevator, and I don't like it because I have to really wiggle my way in. In our Carolina Beach rental, we have the largest residential elevator that you can have, which isn't that much bigger, but it's bigger enough that if my husband wants to go up in the elevator with me, he can do that. So you really want to look at how large of a cab that your property will support. And that's probably next to the concrete. That is going to be your second most expensive aspect of building an accessible property. And I don't know why it went that way. So we're just going to go, you know, back over here to where the next slide would be. So, all right, Lorraine. So we'll just go right here. So what do these placements look like? So on the left, we have our electrical outlets, which are roughly 18 inches from the floor. And you know, it's really nice. I also recommend your hose from outside your water spout to lift it up. But commonly, they're really low. And who wants to stick their hand in bushes where there might be snakes or spiders? So not only are outlets raised, it's really nice to raise your hose, and that's just on the secondary. And how about water balloon fights? We all want water balloon fights. And by elevating that water spigot, we can, you know, fill our buckets up with water and, hey, do that ALS challenge. Here you'll see in one of my favorite stories of a renter that we had, I went and asked Gideon, he said that the bathroom was his favorite place or his favorite accessible feature in our house. And I went and visited with him the next day and I said, Gideon, is the bathroom still your favorite thing? He's like, no. And so he gave me 3 things that were the most important to him besides the bathroom. And that was the placement of the thermostat, because he said his mom likes it cold. And he's like, I'm tired of fighting with her and I can't reach the thermostat, but at your house I can. And so the second thing or third thing that he liked was the light placement. And the reason that he liked the placement of the lights is he said he felt that for the first time he could be independent. And that was what was important to him in having an accessible short-term rental and an accessible home. So those were very important. We all want to be independent, and having muscular dystrophy and, you know, living with it for so long, you know, it's hard when you lose that physical ability to do even simple things like turning on and off the lights. So these are things that really do make a lasting impact when you're looking at building an accessible property. On the right, this is from our little yellow house. And again, here we raised the electrical outlets to a higher position. And the reason we did on our educational house was for our seniors and being able to put something on the bench that they could easily plug up. And the reason that there is a color on the light switches is for our visibility effort, that if you have a white switch or outlet covers on a cream color wall, they're hard to see. So for folks with visual impairments, we recommend painting those or buying those in a different color. Just again, I'm going to give you a lot of trivial stuff here. So when you come in from the door, in the back front entrance, you come into the mud room space. And a lot of times here in Raleigh, we have a table outside our front door. And that's so that when I get to the door, if I need to put down groceries or my laptop, I have a place to do that. For our little yellow house, we made that space when you first come in. So here we have a bench. You can put down your groceries. You can put down whatever you're carrying. I couldn't reach the little tabs at the top to put our coat. So in the built-in, that little door that you see slides to the right, and we have a place that you can hang up your coats there. And again, the pull-out shelves are, you know, just a nice place to have throughout your house regardless of your accessible needs. You know, for our family, we like the front loading washer and dryers, and making sure that if you have them, that you place them so that the doors, you can wheel up to the middle and pull your wet clothes easily into your dry clothes. We've seen placements on the opposite, and it gets very, very cumbersome. And so we always make sure Nathan in his condo, he got a new, it's like 800 square feet. So we're looking at very different spaces, but there's a new product out. We haven't tried it yet, but we will. It's a washer dryer combo, and we have it on the pedestal. So that way it's easy for him to use. We love our reachers. We have a reacher in every closet, in every room throughout any property we've ever been at. And so I can't reach to the back of the washer or dryer. So we commonly have the reacher so that we can pull it out and have easy access to the washer and dryer. And again, it's one of those things that's like, wow, you want to have your independence and be able to do laundry. So the kitchen, people want to know all about accessibility in the kitchen and in the bathroom. And the kitchen cabinetry is going to be your third most expensive element in designing your accessible home. Now, there are affordable ways in which that you can reduce your cost that I'll share with you. But again, we're looking at, the use of knobs, the placement of your ovens and your microwave and your sink and how you use your stove, and how we've done that with our little yellow house. And it's interesting. Initially, this was going to be our model property. Well, I helped get this designed and built living 1,400 miles away. So I physically wasn't there. The downside of that is my instructions and diagrams were not conveyed and built as I thought they would be. So we no longer call this the model property, but a very accessible property because, for example, the sink. So the angle of under the sink, when I wheel under, my knees do hit at a point that I'm about 4 or 5 inches away from the sink, and which makes it hard to reach the lever to turn on the water. So for me to turn on the water, I usually get a reacher, to be honest with you, and turn on and off the water. So the placement and the angle that you have underneath the sink is very important based on your physical access to where your knees need to go. Will your wheelchair, like mine, elevate you higher? Because the higher I go, I could reach the faucet a little easier. And then to think about placement of where your faucet is located. If it were located on the right-hand side of the sink, then that would have been much easier for me to be able to turn it on and off. The disposal switch in our other properties have been right inside the bottom part of the sink. So if I wheel up to the sink, I could easily reach down and turn on and off the disposal. I did not communicate this well with the builder, and they did a push button at where near the faucet. You can kind of see it in the back. The challenge for me was not only the reach, but I didn't have the strength to push down the disposal. And so I would not recommend or think about your arm strength, your hand strength, if you have the strength to push down that button. For me, a toggle switch is much easier. The little drawers on the side are okay, but I would recommend looking at, can you add a narrow trash can and a recycling bin in that space, either open or having it in a cabinet front that you pull out. That's what we have in one of our beach property, is something that we can pull out. One is a trash and one is recycle. So I wouldn't use the same design. I like the visual look of the sink area, but the functionality for someone like me in a wheelchair is a little bit hard. I love the look, again, of our microwave placement. At the beach, we have the microwave just on the counter. And my friend Gideon, who's 16, who, really liked the placement of the light switch and the thermostat. He liked the most was the placement of the microwave, because he said he never had to ask his mom for permission to make popcorn. And so having the microwave not a way above the stove is not convenient for a lot of us, regardless of our ability. We placed it in this area of the kitchen, which is nice. We did a pull out, but I do find having the microwave similar to over here where they had it higher up in the wall is really more accessible for me. But again, there are a number of choices of where you can put your microwave more affordably is on the counter, and you can make it look fine. This was an expensive addition that we added because it had to be custom cabinetry. So that would be an area in looking at your cabinetry expenses that you can reduce your cost. The moving your dishwasher up is really an important element of an accessible kitchen because it does allow those of us in a wheelchair to be able to easy access putting in and taking out the dishes, which again is we all want to participate and be a part of our family's life, and doing the dishes is one of those. May not be fun, but you can do it, you know, easier if you do elevate it. And so you have the space underneath the dishwasher. What do? Well, we added a drawer for our dog's water and food, which we don't have a dog anymore, but if we did, but a lot of people that come to this property may have a service dog. Okay, overall kitchen here. We do have the turning radius of 5 feet here. And I'm not a big advocate that every space has to have this big, expansive openness. It is nice without a doubt. But if you had a galley kitchen where it's just everything is on one side, that also makes it very accessible as well. But in this property that we wanted to showcase accessibility, we did make sure that we had that open floor plan in the kitchen. And one of my favorite requirements in our kitchen, because I wanted it to be charming, was having a really cool vent hood. And it was as easy as just adding the decorative trim to the top and the bottom to make it stand out a little bit. When you do have a roll under stove, keep in mind, again, your leg placement. You know, if you're, I am 5'2" on a good day, sitting in my wheelchair. So my legs, the top of my thighs, I have more space to work with. But if you're somebody that is 6'7" and a larger person, then you may not have as much space. So think about when you have that roll under stove that you have the access of space that will meet your needs. And in this property, one of the things that we did that I do like a lot is the pull out cutting boards on either side of the stove. So again, I can have fruit and vegetables and, well, maybe not fruit, but vegetables and my meats or whatever I want to prepare right there. I've seen it where you have a hole in the pull out and a trash can underneath. So you have that area, that a receptacle where the those things that you cut up could go. In this house, the builder did something that I had never heard or seen before, and that is a remote control access to the vent hood. Again, my recommendation is a little toggle switch underneath the cabinet to the right or to the left. But in this case, we do have a remote. I'm scared to death that remote will get lost, but it's really cool, and it's very easy to use. So we look at that, and again, I'm all about maximizing the drawer space and storage. We women, well, maybe men too, like storage. So we go to the other side of the kitchen, and again, I had a vision of what I wanted, and again, playing off accessibility #1, but yet not looking that it was institutional or looking at it'd be boring. So we did the toe kick. And if you do custom cabinetry, or you look at your cabinets, I highly recommend putting that toe kick in. Our beach property upstairs in our kitchen does not have the toe kick, and you can see exactly where I have been throughout the kitchen because I've dinged it up. We've painted and repainted and varnished, and I still ding it up. But here, when I go, and we made a little coffee bar here, I don't ding it up. And it's easy again here for me to reach to my right for drawers or reach to the left for drawers. Because I'm limited in my arm strength, we put the pull-out drawers there to add for the coffee cups, those things that might be heavier. And then we did the plate rack because, I mean, they're lightweight plates. They're basically plastic plates, but I like the look. I like the access. And so is it the best use of the space? Maybe not, but that's what we added there. The oven, again, it's very accessible. We got it that minimally, or you should not make it higher than 48 inches from the floor to create that access. The reason I recommend the microwave to be in that similar placement space is because for the oven, I can wheel under, pull out whatever I'm getting in front of me. And with the microwave, I could do that and have that pull-out shelf to put it on. I wish I had done a pull-out shelf here, but when I open the oven on the right or the left, obviously, if I'm on the left, I can just put it on the butcher block top, and I'm in a good place there. But I do recommend, if you have that choice, to look at having it up. You know, what is the ideal refrigerator is $1 million question. Accessible properties. We have not tried. I've never seen or used the drawer refrigerators and freezers. I would like to. Affordability was something that I really wanted to be conscious of in this property, and also to have the experience so that I could recommend affordable choices. And so this was an on-sale refrigerator from the local, Lowe's, Home Depot. We find that the double doors opening up are easier for our family to access. We have the water and ice in the door, which is easier. Drawers for me are much easier than using shelves. This particular refrigerator does not have a pull-out shelf. Our home does, so I recommend that you keep that in consideration. I'm going to go a little faster through the rest of these slides because I'm realizing, as usual, I talk a lot and we're not going to have any time for Q&A. Hard surface flooring is very important. We choose not to use rugs because I swear that my wheelchair is also known as a rug eating machine. And no matter where I go, my wheelchair just gobbles them up. So in this property, we forego any type of rugs. And, when we're looking at small spaces, and this is a small bungalow, 900 square feet. And so your whole living space doesn't have to be fully wheelchair access from all sides. So in this property, we made sure that one side was very easy to go into the space, to be able to participate in family activities and have easy access out of the space. And so you'll see in the right-hand side over here how it's very open. We've got about 6 feet that I can go in and out. The boys can go in and out, and we can participate in activities, watching TV, playing games. The bedroom, this is the primary bedroom in the little yellow house. And what people are surprised about is that this king size bed is actually 2 twin beds. On the right hand side is an electric hospital bed that I use. And so it goes down to about 16 inches, which is easy to get me into bed, but it rises all the way up to 48 inches, which is easy to get me out of bed, where the other side is just a traditional twin mattress, but together that is the size of a king bed. And then we put a headboard and we nailed it to the wall so that it would stay in place. But again, visually, it looks like a traditional king size bed. I presented these two closet options that I found online because I think they're really a great design, particularly the middle one. It's got the shelf, it's got the low rods, it's got the higher rods, it's got, again, your gliding door. And there are more sophisticated designs in the closet with additional devices that allow hanging items to come down. You know, drawers for me are definitely a great friend. And whenever possible, I like drawers, but they are another expense as you're looking at affordability and building your property. So this is one of my favorite spaces. This is what we call, well, it's a small bedroom is what it is. And again, it's fully wheelchair accessible. But what we did in this particular room is I wanted to take that hospital idea out because that is a hospital bed. We covered it, the front and the back with fabric. We added a light switch and electrical outlets near here. So again, you have easy access for the very important charging of the phones and the iPads. These are blackout curtains, which are very affordable. We added the rolling blind and used regular paint just to paint the bottom because I love my scallops so much. And added, again, that whimsical look in this space. And then I don't do doors. I don't like doors. And so in our closets, it was more affordable not to buy a door, but to keep it open. Again, I added that little scallop trim because of the cuteness. In this particular room, we added a playhouse. And the reason that we added, this is a short-term rental property, and we have a Hoyer lift. And people that are going to go into that room that had not seen a Hoyer lift, one, it would cover up the majority of the space in the room. Secondly, I didn't want kids to get scared going, what is this big machine or this big device? So we took part of a closet from the primary room and we made a playhouse out of it. So our children with autism who are looking at having a quiet space have it, kids who want to just have it as a place to play, have it, and it's a storage place for the Hoyer lift. The other cool factor about the space, and you could make it even a closet, is that it goes all the way to the ceiling. So mom and dad, brother or sister can also be in this space. And it's one of my favorite spaces in the house. Oh, bathrooms. So this was a learning experience. We have done fabulous bathrooms and it's one of the most important, elements in a property. And again, your fourth most expensive element in creating an accessible home. And so one of the things that we did is, again, how can we make this fully accessible? And again, some of my recommendations were not followed through. And that's why I want to share some of the points that I'll be sharing. Again, open shelving here. Again, easy access, easy placement, and more affordable. Mirrors. Keep in mind the placement of your mirror because when builders and others put in mirrors, I think they think we're all 7 feet tall. And when you're sitting in that rolling office chair to look at your property, you'll notice, wow, I really need to position my mirror a lot lower. And so placement of mirrors is very important. And again, the same is to be said about the roll under sink in the bathroom, as I talked about in the kitchen for the stove. For the toilet area, which can be a lot of things to consider, is a transfer space so that if you're in a manual chair, those that can transfer can easily transfer. Placement of your grab rails. Again, I did a little overkill, but again, we're looking at a broad use of people having this space. For me personally, I'm not able to lift myself and to transfer, so I use an electric toilet seat. Fortunately, in the United States, there are options. Up until a few years ago, the options for an electronic toilet seat were very pricey and not available in the United States. You had to buy them from the Netherlands or Italy. And now there are electric toilet lifts that you can access. The one that we just bought was less than $1,500. It works fine. What's important as you look at in your toilet lift is the tilt. We tried a number of them that didn't work because I needed a lot of tilt to bring my body forward. And so that's an important aspect of when you start looking for an electric toilet lift is that tilt component. Both of my boys have limb girdle and they use a plastic addition in their bathroom. And so a traditional accessible toilet that you buy from your local Home Depot or Lowe's is roughly 17 to 19 inches. And so for our family, that's just too low to easily get out of the toilet. So we've added that lift. I never really knew the importance of a rolling shower chair until my renters pointed it out. And that is when you have limited mobility and you're getting out of bed and you need to go to the bathroom or to take a shower, how many times you transfer can be absolutely exhausting. So in a rolling shower chair, you're transferred once. You then your chair can go over the toilet. You can then use the bathroom, and then you can wheel it into your shower. So that you've gone from 3 transfers to 1 transfer. And that may not sound like a lot, but if I'm doing more than 2 transfers in a day, I'm exhausted. It wears me out. And so that is an item that can cost as low as $100 and as much as $600 or $700. But again, a very important part of looking at your accessible bathroom. Here is where our challenge came in, and to really think about your bathroom. So we have here a built-in shower chair, which is lovely. I would not advocate it for our family's needs because where we're going to take a shower may vary. And so go to Walmart, CVS, buying less than $100 shower chair really works well for our family. As you look at placement of your handheld shower, which is really another important aspect of an accessible bathroom, commonly they are located underneath your shower head. And that is important because when you are sitting in that chair, you want to have access to the water to turn it on and off, and to how warm or cold that you want it. And then by having the handheld shower component right there, you can take a shower by yourself if that's something that you choose to do. And so ours was not placed correctly. And I cannot take a shower independently in this particular home because of the placement and where it was located. It was located that it's low, and I would have preferred it higher so that if my husband wanted to help me stand up, then I could have that water flow from my head to my toes. Because I do stand, I don't walk, but I can stand and enjoy that warm water on my back. And so the middle shower, while you don't see all of it, again, if you have a short-term rental, it's really important that you do capture what your shower may look like from the floor to the ceiling. But here they have your grab rails. They have that little cubby to put, and look at your placement of the cubby too for your showers and your soap and all of that. And that's why in our shower in the bathroom, oh my goodness, I'm almost out of time. I'm going to keep sliding and everybody told me already that, Lorraine, you have too much information. Here's the back. when you're building a ramp, make sure that you have a 5x5 platform. It will help in your slope, and that's what we needed at the little yellow house. In our presentation here, in the back, we do identify all of the different elements that we used in creating an accessible property, room by room. And I think this slide deck will be available. If it's not, please reach out to me at Lorraine@becomingrentable.com, and I'm happy to share that information with you. And with that, I will stop sharing and open it up for Q&A or whatever needs to happen next. And I apologize. I knew I have a lot of information.
No worries, no worries. If we run over a few minutes, I think that'll be okay. Thank you so much for all that information. What a wonderful, beautiful house. So we did have some questions that have come in. We'll try to get through as many as we can. Somebody has asked, are there any recommendations? Do you have any for kitchen tables?
For kitchen tables. So so in our kitchen, we made our own. I went and got a pedestal, and then I had our builder, of course, scallop the edges, and then we cut the table so it met our family's needs on height. And so again, you want to make sure that the apron around your table again will accommodate the top of your thighs when you're rolling under it. And so, there's not a magic place to go. It's more of measuring that the size of what things are created does matter. And it's from the floor to the apron or to the top of the table that you want to consider for a kitchen or dining room.
Okay. We have a lot of people asking if they're going to get copies of the presentation. This will be, the video will be up for on-demand viewing here in a few weeks. Everybody that registered will get the link to that. And then Lorraine, what was your email address again, really quickly for people if they...
Sure. It's Lorraine, LORRAINE at Becoming Rentable. And that's becoming, rentable.com.
Perfect. I think we can get in just a couple more questions. Somebody asked, how do you reconcile heights and design when one person is in a wheelchair, is a wheelchair user, and the other is able-bodied and tall?
We do that for all of our properties because, again, I'm in a wheelchair. My two boys are not yet, and my husband is not. And so having in your kitchen different heights, like if you noticed in our kitchen, we had our table at one height, the bar area at another height, and the coffee bar height differently. I think it's very easy, actually, just being cognizant of what your needs are. I don't cook anymore because I'm 61 and I retired from cooking, and my boys are excellent chefs. So for me, if I were to build another house, which my husband wants to do, we would make sure that the kitchen's outfitted for them and that mom can easily roll under the kitchen table.
Perfect. Retired from cooking. I like that one.
Yes.
Somebody's asked if you have any advice on how to find reputable contractors that have experience modifying homes to make them accessible.
There's a huge need for that. We're seeing more and more as we're looking at aging in place and finding companies that do have that experience. For me, in finding a builder, and we loved our builder, very happy with the builder. Again, making sure that you communicate very effectively, one-on-one as much as you possibly can. Again, I'm 1,400 miles away, so that was challenging. And go to those reviews and see what other people are saying and ask for references and what they have built and their way of communicating, their way of billing. There's a lot of, is it you pay one chunk of change at a time, or is it pay as you go, or is it all just wrapped into a mortgage? So there's a lot of things to do, but reviews are important.
Perfect. We are right at 4 o'clock, but I'm going to ask just one more question. Somebody has asked and said, my wife and I are looking to design and build a new home. Is there a resource to be able to connect with other individuals? This would be helpful to come up with ideas I may never think about, but also to be able to learn from others, things that I should avoid or things I should remember to discuss with a builder. So do you know of any resources like that where people can connect?
Oh, I do, but I can't think of it right now. Somebody just reached out to me about that. And, I'm not here to promote our business at becomingrentable.com, but I will say we want to be that resource. We want to look at products and expertise in the area of accessibility. Again, not only for mobility, but cognitive vision and hearing and aging in place. So we hope to be that in 2024. We're not there yet. And I promise to identify that resource so that maybe you could share that out when I find it after this meeting.
Perfect. So I did just put Lorraine's email address into the chat. And again, if everybody that registered will get the link to this on demand when it's available. So the information will be, it might be a couple weeks, but it will be up for on-demand viewing. So just because we are a little bit over time, want to be respectful of everybody's time. Lorraine, we are so happy you are here with us today. You're always just such a joy and a pleasure. And I love learning from you about all this stuff. So we sincerely appreciate your time, your expertise, and everything you do for the neuromuscular disease community. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you all. Hey, and next time, let's do it like 2 rooms at a time, and then I can slow down and really cover the nuts and bolts of it.
Perfect.
All right.
So just to wrap up, if you are new to MDA and have been diagnosed with a neuromuscular disease under MDA's umbrella, or if you're a loved one of someone who's diagnosed, we encourage you to stay engaged with us at MDA. You can do this by visiting mda.org/join and completing a short form. It's free to join and we'll keep you up to date on the latest research, educational programs, and supports. We would love to hear your comments about this webinar. Once you leave the webinar, a webpage will automatically pop up with a short survey about today's webinar. If you could take a few minutes to complete that, that really helps us plan for future educational programs to make sure we're on track with what you all want and need. So if anyone has questions after this webinar, please feel free to email them to mdaengage@mdausa.org and we will follow up with you. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you again, Lorraine, for your time, and thank you to everyone who attended. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.